This is Ron Burlock, live from Greendale. Victor Toby Robin O'Keefe plans to take the long way home from school from now on, since taking a shortcut Monday and ended up struggling for her life in deadly quicksand. Toby has been walking home from Sacred Heart Elementary School at about 4:15 p.m. along Wood River Creek, taking a path at the bottom of a 20-foot-high rock. She has gone only a short distance when the sandy bed turns soft and wet.
Mr. Potter? Mr. Potter! Mr. Potter, hey! Mr. Potter, you gotta wake up! Mr. Potter, we gotta get out of here!
Tell me! Oh my God! What are you doing here?
Jeez, Mr. Potter, I'm trying to get you out of the car! Look where we are!
Good Lord! We have to get out of here! Be careful! Now! Go ahead!
Mr. Potter, we gotta get out! Come on! We gotta get out!
Look inside! There's a wrench! Close your eyes and turn your heel!
Mr. Potter, help!
Keep your eyes closed.
Come on, Mr. Potter, we gotta get to the bathroom!
Hey, Gramps. Looks like you finally found what I was looking for.
What was the knife through to you?
Then I'm happy then, and I'll be on my merry way. Not only did the branch off the sport battle over the ones you can do. Your little friend has already been bad Luke for me once today. If she was lucky enough to find you out here, she'll be trouble for me out on her own.
Okay, you win. All three of the diamonds. Let me go out there first. Just push the board out here and she can bring the diamonds to you.
You're a real sweet pie, you know the fella. Okay, I'll do it, if that's gonna finish her business.
Are you sure this is okay?
Let's get going.
I was really scared. I got really stuck. I couldn't get my feet out.
Soon the sand had oozed over the top of her Mary Janes, and Toby was trapped. She tossed her school books up to the dry land and started to struggle hard to escape. But as she fought to free herself from the quicksand's grip, she steadily sank deeper and deeper. By the time the mud had reached her knees, she panicked.
I knew there was no way I could save myself once my legs had sunk down that far. All I could do was yell for help. I was really scared.
That was when the pit turned into a soup of quivering, sucking mud. Toby said her school uniform became a mud cake as she tried to kick swim her way out of the quicksand. But the quagmire proved to be more than a match for the little girl, sucking her down deeper and deeper with every desperate move she made. The weight of her muddy clothes and shoes dragged her down, and soon the captive little girl was neck deep. Toby convinced that she was going to smother and die.
find me in time, but nobody heard me screaming for help. I was too far away from the road.
Luckily though, somebody did hear her screams. The Greendale Fire Department received a call at 6:30 p.m. from someone passing by on the far side of the creek.
I recognized him as somebody that we had previously been searching for, and the last time I had checked, without trying to, I guess, scary, I tried to ask to walk towards my truck, and at that point decided to go.
It took rescuers over an hour to safely pull Toby from the quicksand. The girl fought back her sobs and bravely worked to free herself.
My instinct was to try and grab a hold of, and then, I slowed up for just a second because I realized out looking, and so I had to slow up just a second to look back and make sure there's no cars coming.
Toby spent 2 hours at Greendale Hospital before she returned home with her parents. None the worse from her frightening ordeal, but much more cautious about the path she's taken while walking home from Sacred Heart. A week later, over 2 years and several hundred thousands of dollars of successful jewelry insurance fraud came to a quick end earlier this week when a key piece of evidence was discovered by a sharp-eyed investigator, 4th grade elementary school girl Toby Robin O'Keefe.
Hold up, you guys! Stop paddling for a moment.
So there's something attached onto the canoe, like a secret hiding spot.
We'll pull into some of these cattails and see what's underneath that plate. At least getting whatever that is off the bottom of the canoe will help get us out of here faster. This sounds interesting. Diamonds. Looks like there are hundreds of them in here. Names and phone numbers. Names look Dutch. Overseas numbers. Same general exchange. Different city names. Port Elizabeth, Cape Town, Durban. Looks like they are all in South Africa.
Smugglers, how do you like that? A doorman smuggling right here in Usikujumba. No wonder those fellows were keeping such a close eye on the place.
I love it. A story just falls into our laps. This will go statewide, maybe even national. Greendale Jewelers, Augusta Spotter, Prop.
Those diamonds are Mr. Potter's stolen diamonds! But what does Mr. Potter have to do with any of this? He's not a smuggler.
He probably received a shipment that was meant for them. One way to sneak something in is by sending it to a legitimate dealer and then stealing it back.
Toby, I'm ready to get out of here.
We wait right here for a few hours, until it gets dark, then we'll cross the lake to the camps at the south end and call the police from there.
Despite weeks of failed leads and an investigation personally directed by Greendale Chief of Police Howard Mason, the case was immediately cracked by the discovery of a parcel of rare gems that had been reported as stolen. But the fact that they'd been hidden within a few yards of Metropolitan Diamond Exchange, police investigators had gone the area, while search warrants failed to yield the missing jewels. The true off-site hiding place had been within inches of the Diamond Exchange, but discovered only through the keen observation of Toby O'Keefe, a 4th grade pupil at Sacred Heart Elementary School.
When I found out there was a second robbery at the store, I looked all around the place for clues. All of the bricks on the back wall of the jewelry store had a really rough feeling if you rubbed the bricks with your hand, but there were these 4 bricks that felt smooth. And if you looked at the places in between, there was a straight crack going all around them. It looked like a secret hiding place.
young Toby had spent only a few minutes working the bricks from their places on the wall when all four came away easily. She found a plain leather bag containing not only the reported stolen cash of previous week's robbery, but the gems burglarized from several robberies months earlier and already claimed inexpensive insurance settlements. The discovery of the hidden gems was all circumstantial evidence police needed to establish a case for insurance fraud. The Marquez brothers of the Diamond Exchange were arraigned today on fraud charges totaling in excess of $500,000. They are expected to enter a plea if not guilty. As for the investigative skills necessary to solve such a case, Toby O'Keefe, Greendale's new junior detective, had these words to say to the chief of police.
The best place to start looking is the last place anyone would expect to look. Like this time, right in the store's backyard.
Chief Macy could not be reached for comment. Ron Burlock, News Center 5, Greendale.
This is a special English paper assignment to write about what happened to me and Terry last week when we went into the marsh. It started out on the way home from school when we were looking for the missing diamonds. When Terry and I stepped into the marshy spot, we did not know how deep the mud was, but we found out when our feet started to sink in. It is very hard to escape from mud when it's really deep. We were so far from the road that there was nobody around to help us, so nobody could hear us yelling for help as we sank deeper and deeper into the mud. The danger started when we left our bikes up by the road and climbed over the wood fence to go to the marshy area. We knew we could find diamonds there to catch for our project. We went through the cattails because the edge of the marsh was still dry, solid ground. We would never have gone into the swampy part, but it turned out that this place was more dangerous than the swampy part. It was right after we left the grass in a spot that looked just like ordinary ground, but as soon as we walked on it, we knew we had stepped into mud. It got really soft and wiggled under our feet when we walked on it. It was kind of like the sand at the beach, where the water is still in the sand right after a wave, except that everything wiggles around your feet when you try to move, and the wet sand sticks to the bottoms of your shoes, so it's really hard to lift your feet up, and when you do, it makes a loud sucking noise.
Too suspicious.
You're right. He was pretending to be friendly, but he wouldn't really answer my questions. I'll bet he's one of those crooks.
I'll bet he is too. Do you think Bowser is a dog?
Well, I guess so. It's a dog's name, but he's got pretty weird favorite color.
That's what I thought too. I think he was either making stuff up so he wouldn't come back to the island, or he's colorblind.
Wow, don't make him with us back. Oh, wait, what? Toby, stop!
Terry, stop moving around! We gotta walk back out of this pit! Help! 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 Please, help us!
Toby, the crooks aren't gonna help.
Jeeps, Terry, they have to.
But they were gonna let Mr. Potter drown in his car. They're gonna want to get us out of the way and just push us, our heads under the mud so we die.
All right, mister. Just keep your hands where they are and we'll have no trouble.
I'm sure this ain't exactly your debut.
Please?
You picked the wrong will perish the whole ass swoop. Nobody cuts and runs on him. And it's him speaking by the by.
But we're sinking!
Any man loud talking spends the night in a box. You got questions, you come to me. I'm responsible for order in here. Any man don't keep order spends the night in the box. I hope you ain't gonna be a hard case.
Help! We're down here!
Hold on. I'm almost there.
Hurry up! We're almost under! Terry, don't cry! Terry, stop! Get your hands up! Don't let them stay under the quicksand!
Toby! Help! We're down here!
Oh no, Terry! Oh my god, no! And just like in the jungle movies, we could not get out, but kept sinking deeper. At first we were holding our arms out, but the quicksand got so soft that we had to put our arms down into it so that we could still stand straight up. We were not really standing because there was nothing under our feet except mud. It was like floating because we could move our arms and legs a little, but we could not move from the spot that we had started to sink only a little while ago. All we could do was wiggle around. Even though the quicksand had turned really soft, it was still really thick and heavy, so we could not lift our arms out of it again. When we tried to move more than just a little, the quicksand rocked all around us and we sank a little bit deeper. Now we were really trapped bad, and we did not dare to try to move anymore, because the mud was covering up so much of our shoulders that our collars were lying down on top of it. We were breathing really loud, like when you were in cold water, because we were really scared. The marsh is pretty far away from everything, so there was a chance that nobody would ever come by. We were even hoping that a police car might drive by and see our bikes, because we are not supposed to have gone over the fence. But nobody came for a long, long time. Kept trying to find bottom by moving my toes around, but it was soft everywhere. There was no way to know how deep the quicksand was. We weren't sinking anymore, which was lucky because now the quicksand was touching our chins. The mud was moving because we were breathing hard, but that was the only moving we did. We just floated up to our chins in quicksand and yelled for help whenever we heard anything on the road. We stayed like that in the quicksand for more than an hour. Finally, somebody heard us from the road. A man driving his car stopped and looked for who was yelling. He couldn't do anything himself, but he told us that he would bring back people that could rescue us. He told us not to move. After we heard the car speed away, it seemed like he was gone for a long time. It was probably only 10 minutes, but it seemed like hours. Then we heard this big truck drive up and police came through the cattails carrying everything they needed. They told us not to be scared, and we were really careful when they put the ropes under the mud and around us because we were so deep. And they pulled up on us real slow so we'd not get hurt. By this time, the quicksand was so soft that we came out easy, even though we could not have gotten out by ourselves, and soon we were lying safe on the firm grass. We didn't get in as much trouble at home as we expected to, because the firemen told our parents that we almost died in the quicksand. If we had just gotten our shoes muddy, we would have been in a lot more trouble. Just try to figure that out. Most of Greendale is very safe, but there are some places that can be very dangerous. People who do not always stay on the sidewalks, roads, or trails can sometimes get into trouble. The reason is that Wood River is not really a true river. It is a very long underground spring. It comes up above the ground about 5 miles west of Greendale, and then goes underground again at Sparrow Lake. So Sparrow Lake isn't really a true lake either. It's a big hole in the ground that Wood River pours into in order to become an underground spring again. When Wood River pours into Sparrow Lake, it causes a lot of little springs to come up. It is really good for making everything that grows here really green, which may be the reason they named the town Greendale. The dangerous thing about this is that a spring can just start up anywhere at any time. I call these places trouble spots, and there are 7 kinds of them: mud holes, mud pits, quick mud, mud sand, quicksand, sand pits, and clay banks. Here is an explanation of what they are and examples of how others have gotten into trouble. Mud holes. You really have to be careful taking shortcuts to school, because the easiest things that can spring up overnight are mud holes. This is when the really small spring creeps up above the ground and puddles in a place where there's a lot of soft dirt. The spring doesn't even have to last very long in order to make a really bad mud hole. Mud holes can be shallow and just get your shoes and socks all muddy, or they can be kind of deep. The deepest mud hole I've ever heard about was 3 feet deep. It was in a vacant lot. Mud pits are like mud holes, but a lot worse. If the ground is really soft a long way down, then when the spring bubbles up, it makes a really deep place where the soft mud can sit and wait for you. If the spring is still flowing, then you get quick mud. But when the spring stops and all the mud sits there in a really deep hole, then you get a mud pit. Quick mud is the most dangerous kind of mud there is. As you might have guessed from the name, it's like quicksand because the water is still coming up through it. If the spring is really fast, all the mud just gets washed away and all that is left is a hole full of water. But when the water is coming up slowly, you get quick mud. If you step into quick mud, it really does feel like something is sucking you down. The water comes up to stir the mud, and if you're sinking in when that happens, you get pulled down deeper. Sand can really fool you because it looks just like normal sand until you step in it. And if you do, it's really hard to get out because the sand makes the mud really heavy and thick. It's not quicksand because there isn't any water coming up through it. And it's not really a mud pit because of all the sand that's in mud sand. When a lot of soft mud gets mixed into there, it's usually just sand and then you can get mud sand. This can happen if a spring turns the soil around the sand into mud and the mud seeps into the sand. As long as the spring is running, more and more mud gets stored in the sand, and everything gets really wet and soft. Sometimes all the soil in place can pour right into a sandy spot and make really deep mud sand. Everybody knows about quicksand because of all the movies, but there is a lot of sand in the soil around Greendale. You can get quicksand a lot, especially by the banks of Wood River Creek or on the south side of Sparrow Lake. Quicksand is the hardest trouble spot to get out of because of how heavy the sand is, even when there's water running through it. The sand doesn't want to move no matter what you do, except to move out of the way of your feet as you're sinking down into it. Sand pits and sand pools are also things that they have in and around the sand quarry. But not only are the big pits of really wet sand that you can sink into, but in a lot of places the sand might still look okay to walk on. But it's really so full of water that you can sink deep into it there too. Clay banks can happen for two reasons. First, because there's so much clay in the soil around Greendale that what would otherwise be a mud bank turns out to be a pocket of clay. And second, because there's clay coming out from the sand quarry all the time. You can tell the difference because the natural clay is red and the quarry clay is pale yellow. But the color of clay doesn't help you if there's grass growing on top of it or you fall into it by accident. Clay pits are these big pools of deep, soft clay that they have all around the sand quarry on the other side of the highway, just north of Sparrow Lake. The only problem is that you can't see the clay pits at night, and unless you're really careful, you can get caught in one. Once you start sinking in the gooby clay, it's really hard to get out. So the professor said, and I quote, "Start with a draft that nobody will ever read. Make it part article, part scrapbook, write anything that comes to your mind, and remember that nobody else will see your first draft. What matters is that you keep writing." So now, what I did during my previous years is 6 months.
Mystery at Greendale Marsh and the Underground Adventure. Did all of this really happen?
Well, you have to look at these stories with a kid's eye.
This is perfect. The cave will muffle the sharks, and nobody should be able to find the bodies for a long time, if ever.
Smells like something died in here already.
Well, let's not waste any more time. We gotta be getting back to the farm.
Toby? You know the way back to the cave, don't you? We aren't going back there, are we?
Yes and no.
For instance, I really hate spiders, and spiders come up a lot in the kinds of places one searches for clues. A big enough spider close enough to my head could bring the current investigation to a swift conclusion. The creepy crawlies may have kept me from getting into even more trouble. Yes, the situations actually did happen. I would point my interviewer to the news articles about the 7th grader who broke up a secret exotic animal smuggling ring and uncovered the hiding place used for stolen property.
That kid steals magazines every week. I'm sure. I don't know how.
Once a week?
Comes every Wednesday. Last night, watching the store, we caught him swinging open the gates around the dumpsters.
So the trash pickup is on Thursday morning. This is the only night the gate was left unlocked?
He stole magazines from store trash cans, then to a dumpster, then she told me once a week.
I wasn't nearly as confident as I sound in my books. In fact, I pretty much put myself in dangerous situations and, with a lot of luck, got myself out again. With a few notable exceptions, I got myself out of trouble instead of being rescued by anybody else. It was my imagination that got me into trouble the most, and the inspiring event was solving crime while I was just in 4th grade. Looking back, I can say that my publicity had been based on 2 key factors. First, my dad was an editor for the Greendale Journal. And second, because the mayor wanted to embarrass and remove the town's chief of police, Howard Macy. Oh, hello there.
Hi there.
Never seen you on campus before. Are you new here?
Yes, I am. I'm just taking the tour around the school, that's all.
Oh, well, I'm glad you like this school already. Sacred Heart is one of the best elementary schools in town, and most definitely the best elementary school in the area. I like how it is here. Food's pretty good, too. Come on, it's time for lunch.
Toby O'Keefe, you're a fraud!
What do you mean?
You said I'd find my missing bracelet in a fruit tree. I looked in every cherry tree in the city, but I still can't find it.
You weren't listening. The bird that stole your bracelet makes its nest in a citrus fruit tree.
You mean I'll find the bracelet in a...
Don't say it!
In a lemon tree, my dear Watson. Anyway, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Toby Robin O'Keefe.
Toby, isn't that a boy's name?
No, silly you. It's also a girl's name. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be named that. And besides, what will be of significance for Toby?
Come to think of it, you are absolutely right.
Enough with that. What's your name? What the heck was that? Well, don't just stand there. Do something about it.
Alright, on my way.
Great. We're both trapped. And it knows that I'm with you, so it puts you in front. Suspicious, though. Hold on, I have an idea.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. Anyways, since that slime octopus thing is gone, I was thinking of giving you a tour of the school. Is that what you want?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually Toby, you know, what you did out there. Your heroics were awesome. I can't believe you were brave enough to defeat that monster all on your own.
Aw, that's so sweet. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks to you, I might be able to transfer here.
Well, you can. It's almost the last day to apply, so there's plenty of time. If you got in, just give me a call. What was your name?
It's Nicole.
Nicole, eh? Alright, Nicole. You know what to do. Just give me a call when you get in then. When the new year starts, you'll manage to notice the potential we have. I think you'll love it here.
Alright, thanks.
glad to see you. It's just too bad the crooks got away.
When he first took off running, my instinct was to try and grab a hold of him, so I had to slow it just a second to look back and make sure there's no cars coming.
Why were they just sitting there?
He ends up cornering himself inside of a shopping plaza.
Toby, home for you. It's Detective Morgan.
Hello? Yes. Really? Jeeps. I see. Right. Thanks for calling.
What was that about?
I was right. There was someone else involved in the robbery. The police went back over the crime scene and found another set of fingerprints. They got a match in their system. It's a well-known crime figure, and they have an APB out for him now.
Jeez, Toby. How did you ever figure that out? I mean, Mano Bolso swore up and down he'd work alone.
Well, Mano Bolsa is Spanish. Mano means hand and bolsa means bag, so handbag. A handbag is an accessory.
Because I knew the subject, I already knew his name, I actually called him out by his last name. He tried to correct me and say that his name was actually... When I actually ran him for warrants, come to find out the warrant that I had thought he had, which was the felony warrant.
Yes, sir. These report papers, sir?
Actually, he had served time on it, but he actually had another issue.
I'm sure it was very exciting, but I'm glad to get out of that rough place.
I'm sure you'll be begging to be let back in. When you found out, you gave a folder of your sums instead of the diagrams.
Toby!
Kidding. I just needed you to stop so I could catch up.
Thank you, Toby. That will be quite enough.
Blue Jays. For the next excursion into the brushlands, of course Toby will have to be teamed with Terry again. Perhaps she can keep you from drowning on dry land, Miss O'Keefe. I have 2 citizenship points already. I don't want to be ungrateful. This was given to me by the base commander or officer. I didn't question him, but I have to already.
But we were already there.
Well, that's because we're going to the other side of the area. Alright, my flock of robins. We're now going to spread out and catalog all the broken fence posts. You each have a pencil and be precise.
What I would like to know is, if the trail is so muddy, then why are his shoes so clean?
That's a good point.
As Karen began to give us a boring lecture on our next scout mission, I couldn't stop from thinking, why did Nicole get arrested alongside Mana Bolsa? Was this interview a whole lie just to have thieves come knocking at my doorstep? And what was the purpose of all this? Interview me while a robbery is in progress? Oh well, as I always say, danger is my homework.